the coaching aspect, I'm like, man, I got to be better. I got to be better for these kids if I say I want this for these kids, and like I have to change myself.
What's up, y'all? This is Jalen with Vital Collective. Tonight I'm here with Drew Mitchell, coach, trainer, manager. This guy wears a lot of different hats. Tonight we just want to get him on here, get him to talk about his story a little bit and what's got him to where he's at now in his life. Drew, just tell us a little bit about where you're from.
I'm from Louisville, Kentucky. I grew up Louisville my whole life. Kind of into the start of my life, and then I went away to college. 2010, I went to a school in Illinois called Danville Area Community College. Played basketball there for 2 years. Then I left Danville and went to Xavier after that. I played there for 2 years, and then after that, man, kind of found my home. Just been up here ever since.
Talk a little bit about how transitioning from high school to Danville to Xavier, how you were able to go from here to there to that next level, you know, and because there's a lot of players that's going to go through that can make that same transition that might have to go to a smaller school before they go to a bigger school. Talk about your initial transition from high school to Danville.
Oh man, that transition was crazy. Coming from where I'm from, a lot of people don't, get the opportunity. Some of the opportunities that I've been blessed with. Going to Danville, it's a small city in Illinois. So it's a lot of poverty. It's pretty ghetto. We lived in a rough apartment complex. There's a couple robberies while we lived there. There was a murder happened next door. So, really, and when you go JUCOs, you go there, you're there for a reason. It's either your grades are bad or your recruitment wasn't what you want it to be. For the people who don't know what, the reasons behind JUCO, but I went there because my academics weren't where they needed to be. And man, when you go there, it's just you and basketball. For me, school, basketball, and, your teammates, everybody's there to do a job. It's different than being at your four-year school where everybody, is there for a reason. When you're at JUCO, everybody's trying to get to that next level. So it's kind of grimy. It's a little bit more grimy than it is at your university because everybody's trying to work to get to that next level, or they're willing to cross you or do whatever it takes to get there.
So I think that's a really good point to get across to the younger guys. Is not based strictly off of your performance on the court. Is your performance in the classroom is a heavy influence on where you can go as far as progressing to the next level.
No, it's a huge influence, man. I preach to a lot of my AU kids. Like, that stuff starts now. I mean, a lot of people try to wait to that last minute, similar to what I did. Wait till that last minute and think like I can turn it around now. It's too late. Then, especially back then, the ACT and the SAT played a huge role, and all that stuff with your GPA, and now since COVID's happened, they kind of went away with the ACT and SAT, but. Back then, if your scores are messed up, that GPA better be super high.
Right.
A guy like me, I never really been a big fan of school. I've always done it. I've been blessed. Kind of grew up late. I was a late bloomer in college. Ended up getting 3 degrees, got my master's, and I never even imagined of going to college. Like, I never even planned on going. Like, ever. I was just a guy that was cool with just being in the neighborhood, hang out, hoop, chill. Hang out with my friends, but college, I knew like if I didn't play sports, I wasn't going to college. That's just who I was.
Talk about a little of the struggles that you went through in college, making that transition in your mind, because I think that's one of the biggest things is the message is do this, go to college, but once that's all it ever is. It's never really how to engage and transition your mentality to not only get to college but to graduate or to go to the next level doing whatever. Talk about the struggles that you went through, whether it be losing relationships, having to cut certain people off, or actually having to open yourself up more to accept criticism and things like that from other people, and ultimately to better yourself, to not only just make it to college but to finish.
Man, I went through a lot of that. One of the hardest things for me when I first got to college was, I have older parents, and, my mom's not here anymore. May God rest her soul. But my mom's in heaven. But you know, my mom went through throat cancer right when I was making my transition from JUCO to my university, and my plan was to go to a school in California. I was going to go to the University of San Francisco. That was my plan. And my mom got sick, and I decided to stay home. Wanted to be closer, and then boom, like a week before I was talking to God, and before I made my decision, my dad had a heart attack on my cousin's doorstep. And I was like, that's a sign from God. Like, I need to be close. If anything happens, I know that regardless of the distance of I can't control what was going to happen.
Yeah.
That's God's plan, not mine. But, for me, that was some of the toughest things I went through. And, obviously when you're going through family struggles, you kind of block people out, and you may miss blessings that are headed towards you because you don't want those blessings, I would say, or you don't trust people. I had a problem with trusting people because where I'm from, it's like everybody wants something. It's like you're not just doing something without getting something in return.
Nothing's free.
Yeah, so for me, it was like I struggled with that a lot. Just trusting people and being able to open up. I lost out on a lot of relationships and friendships because people thought like, I ended up going to Xavier, which is a good school, good basketball school. For sure. And everybody thinks I kind of got Hollywood or whatever the case may be, but I kind of was big on my phone works, your phone works. Like, why do I always got to be the one to initiate the phone call,
right, or
the text, or the line of communication is open both ways. Yeah. Like, you can call me or check on me. So it was like, if you don't call me or text me, like I'm gonna stop being the person that reaches out first. And, I could be wrong in that instance. I'm not always saying I'm right, but that's just kind of how I felt. So losing relationships, and, I went through some hardships in college with all that stuff, and injuries kind of played a factor in my life, and just trusting. I had a problem with trusting people, outside of my friends.
Mentally being able to not only deal with all of those experiences, what did it take for you to still be locked in the classroom to battle through all of that and still get your degree?
My mom, she was my why. A lot of people, it takes a while in their life until you really find out what your why is. I think mine was just my mom from the start. I watched her struggle. Watched my mom do a lot of crazy things at a young age, like for me and my siblings to be able to do stuff. I'll never forget, I think I was like 13 or 14. I watched my mom pawn her wedding ring so I could go to an AAU tournament. And I was like, wow. Like, I was like, why would you ever do that? She was like, I'll get it back. My mom never ended up getting that ring back. Right. But I seen her do stuff like that, so it was like, all she asked was like for me to finish college. Where I was from, I made some bad decisions. My first year out of high school, I kind of slipped up, got into a little trouble. My mom was like, all I want is to see you graduate college and not dead or in jail. So I just motivated me to just flip it for her. The same thing with my father.
That's big.
Yeah.
I think what I respect most about you is that you could go a lot of different ways with what you're doing. And my understanding of what you do is very surface level. But what I respect most about you is that how much you incorporate the kids into your lifestyle, and it's all positive. So let's talk about how you transitioned from playing college basketball into coaching these middle school into high school kids and putting them on a huge platform, as far as basketball goes.
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about that.
So my best friend, Edmond Sumner, played with me at Xavier. He was a freshman when I was a senior. And, when he decided that he was going to enter the draft, he had a meeting with me, and he was like, he wanted me to manage him. At the time, I didn't really know what that entailed. But I was like, all right, sounds cool. Like, I'm young. Like, all right. He was like, I want you to travel with me, go with me. I want you to do all this stuff with me. And I was like, all right. So, probably 2 years in, I'm coaching the AAU team and coaching. And then Edmond comes to me with the idea, like, I want to do my own thing. He was like, I want to do a Edmond Sumner team. And I was like, all right, I'm with it. Like, you're my best friend. I manage you. Like, I'm with it if that's what you want to do. So we started this Edmond Sumner program 3 years ago. Bro, these kids were in 6th grade. They're now starting their freshman year. 6th grade, bro. We go to some tournaments, finish some Final Fours, Elite Eights, like out of 80, 90 teams. We're doing something.
Mm-hmm.
7th grade, we turn around, it's like winning these tournaments now.
Yeah.
Like these big name kids are calling, like they want to play, like they want to be a part of it.
Right.
We're like, damn, like this shit's blowing up fast. Like it's blowing up fast. And then this last year, man, 8th grade was nuts.
Yeah.
Like, we won 40 games in a row. Man, we were number 1 team in the country.
Yeah.
8 of my 9 kids have Division I offers.
Don't breeze over that.
Nah.
You know what I mean? Don't
Yeah.
breeze over that. That's huge.
Nah, yeah, it's
Say that again, just in case.
Yeah, 8 of my 9 kids have Division I offers.
Yeah.
Going into their freshman year.
Where are most of these kids from?
Northern Kentucky, Cincinnati. Got a couple kids from like Columbus area.
What kind of backgrounds do they come from?
Some of them come from rough backgrounds.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna say almost all of them. Families are really into it. Both parents, or maybe a mom and a stepdad, or whatever the case may be. But they're into it. Like they're invested into their kids.
Yeah.
They're really good kids. They're special.
Mm-hmm.
Really talented, humble.
Yeah.
Like my kids' parents are on their ass constantly about grades and about being focused. And all my kids' parents monitor their social media.
Yeah.
Like social media is crazy.
Yeah.
Like growing up, when we were growing up, it wasn't like it is now.
It was a lot different.
It's a lot different. Now it's like these kids are like superstars. So
Yeah.
everything is watched, everything's monitored.
Mm-hmm.
So just keeping these kids on track because they got bright futures.
Yeah.
And sometimes they don't even understand how big their future is.
How can they?
Yeah, they don't. They're
They
babies.
haven't been through anything.
Yeah, and a lot of their parents haven't really been through it, so it's all new. It's all new. But for me, it's like I went through it. I watched my best friend go through it.
Yeah.
I put kids in college.
Mm-hmm.
Some people I've trained, some kids I've coached, put them in college. So I've been through this process and seen this rodeo. Not as big as it is now with the program I have. Like some of the colleges I talk to on the daily, you would be like, wow.
Right.
Like,
And these kids are young.
Young, man.
They're
and I
young.
talk to, I can almost name almost every Power 5 school in the country.
Yeah.
I've probably had some type of communication with them about these kids,
Talk about what it really takes to not only coach a team, but to put your team on a level, or not even put your team, but to build your team up to the level that it is now.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the sacrifices that you've had to make for this to happen.
Yeah. So, obviously financially, some of these kids and these families can't afford to travel. It takes a lot of traveling to get in that spotlight, to get in that limelight. Like you have to get in front of certain eyes.
Yeah.
So, some of these families can't afford that. So those times where I was like, fuck it, I'll pay for it.
Yeah.
Like, let's do it. Like,
What are the, just break down the logistics of where are these tournaments, how many kids you have, and just, I mean, there's just so much that goes into it.
So,
and just give an overall breakdown of how many kids you got and just what it takes to get your kids to one of these big tournaments that they play in.
So we have 10 kids on our team. Some of the big tournaments are like Made Hoops, which is it's a Nike tournament. It's a circuit. Nike Made Hoops, which I don't know if you guys are familiar with. EYBL, Nike EYBL, which is the Elite Youth Basketball League. It's the highest, most powerful league in the country. And we played on the junior circuit, which is the 8th grade level, which is Nike Made Hoops, which we won, by the way. But it's 4 circuits. One is in Dallas, Texas. One's in Orlando. One's in, this year it was Dallas, Texas, Orlando, Indianapolis, and Memphis. So those were the four places took place this year. And man, it's tough. And then Alabama, Battle of Magic City. It's over 100 teams in our grade. And to go to these tournaments, man, it's $500 entry fee to get your team in the event. Flights, you got to think for 2 parents and a child, probably looking somewhere between $1,200, $1,300. Or if they drive down, you look at gas, hotel rooms at these big tournaments. When it's that many kids, that many families, looking at hotel rooms, probably $200 a night.
And that's not even feed.
We haven't even ate yet.
And there's some big boys on there.
And we had a tournament in Georgia, Made Hoops, Augusta. That tournament, we're there for 7 days. So in hotels there, that's Peach Jam. It's the biggest tournament in the world. It's like LeBron and everybody's down there. Hotels were $300 a night.
So that saying all of that to say that you're not doing this for financial gain.
Nah.
You do this because you love it.
It's my love.
What is the feeling that you get in watching these boys grow and just overall wanting to see them excel at the next level. How do you feel when you see their success and now they're getting D1 offers and like how does that feel for you?
Man, it's the best feeling in the world, honestly. Cause like when I was young, I didn't have anybody to do that for me.
Yep.
Like it was all trial and error. I was the first one in my family to do it, so it was like everybody was proud of me, but it's like nobody told me their experiences. So the mistakes that I made was all like, damn, well I didn't know. Like I just tried it. Damn if I do, damn if I don't.
You had to lose.
Yeah. So like seeing these kids and like their faces when I tell them like you know I'll use an example. Like we played in Georgia and you know we looked to the right. And I remember we were talking about it like the week before. We were talking about like what's guys' top 5 schools,
yep.
You know, when it comes long term. And then we looked to our right at the game, and it's John Calipari and Kentucky's whole staff had a coach from Duke, Ohio State, Butler, Oklahoma State.
Everybody.
Like all of our games. Yeah, like I see 14-year-olds.
Yeah.
Then seeing my kids' faces after when I come to the huddle, like, hey man, so-and-so just offered so-and-so, and seeing them jump up and down and just hype for each other. It's just a different feeling. And for me, it's like I said 4 years ago that my mission when I did this was when these kids are seniors, I want to sit in the auditorium, cry like a baby, watch all my kids on the stage, sign scholarships together.
Yeah.
That's what I do this shit for. I'm not trying to get rich off my kids or anything. And when they get older and they want to kick back something to me, it's cool, but I don't expect it. Like I don't want it, whatever.
Yeah.
I just want tickets to your games to be able to come watch you and do, you know, to be proud of you.
That's big because I feel like a lot of people, they think about doing things like what you're doing, but they know consciously, like subconsciously, the amount of effort that it takes to make that happen.
Mm-hmm.
But you've been proactive in actually doing that, and I respect it a lot, you know, because that's huge, and I think that's what the community lacks is not only people like yourself, and as far as sports goes, but just overall teaching young men that there's so much more outside of what they see every day, and just taking them into different places and showing them different things, because I think that's one of the biggest things that lacks in the community is Black men like ourselves doing something that's positive.
For sure.
And just trying to teach them something positive.
Yeah.
And
if you always see negative, man, eventually you're gonna do negative.
Yep.
But I was one of those guys. I've always prided myself on. Everybody always has an excuse on like, this family member does this family member does that. Well, my mom can't afford this. My mom can't afford that. I was that guy.
Yeah.
And I could have just sat around and like, I feel sorry for myself. Or I could go out and get it, because ain't nobody gonna feel sorry for me. End of the day, if I tell somebody my problems tomorrow, you heard me, but you're not gonna feel about my problems how I feel about my problems.
Right.
So what's the point of me telling you? So I've always been a person like that. Like, all right, well, what you gonna do? Fix it.
Exactly.
Just fix it. So and that's how I teach my kids. Like, ain't no excuse. I'm too small, or I'm too slow, I'm too this. Those are things that are fixable.
Right.
If it's something that you can't fix, there's people in wheelchairs right now that would do anything. That was paralyzed from the waist down, they would do anything to play basketball or try to play football. And you saying what you can't do because you're too lazy, so you want to lay around and be on a video game, or you want to go to the movies, or you want to do that. It's a sacrifice.
Right.
Doing this stuff is a job.
Yeah.
It's a job, and it's a job that you like. You play basketball, or you play football, or you play sports. You do it because it was fun, not because you're forced. Some people are forced to do it.
Right.
But you know, the majority of the kids, you play it because you like it. So put your all into it, or don't. And if you don't, that's fine. But when everybody else around you is reaping the benefits and getting the success, don't be the guy with the sad story.
Yeah.
I'm just big on that.
Yeah, and that's huge, man. It's when you're talking to these kids, how receptive do you feel that they are of things that is kind of they haven't obviously been through, but how do you feel that how receptive are they of just you telling them your experiences and like this is what you should not do, because they might be doing something that's going to lead them into a certain situation you might have gone through yourself. Do you feel like sometimes it's through one ear and out the other, or do you feel like that you've been so impactful in positivity in their life that they're locked in, like, you know what, Drew said that I shouldn't do this, so I'm not going to do this?
They listen. They you know, at first I was like, damn, when I first started coaching, I was like, man, there's no way I'm gonna be able to get through some kids. Like, because I'm just thinking of myself in those shoes. I'm like, I'm young. I'm 30 years old. So it's like, I haven't seen everything in life, but I've seen a lot.
Right.
So when I tell these guys stuff, they're very receptive. Like, they'll be like, excuse me, they'll ask like, Coach Drew, what you think about this? Or Coach Drew, what you think about that? Or Coach Drew, this is going on. And, you know, my kids know they can talk to me about anything.
Right.
They can call me at any time of the day, any time of the night. Sometimes I just sit up on FaceTime with them and I forget I'm on the phone.
Yeah.
Because it's like I'm thinking I'm talking to one of the homies.
Yeah.
But I'm talking to one of my players because they're like my sons or my little brothers.
And
you know,
the only reason that I even asked that is because ultimately you are a positive role model to these kids, and that's way bigger than anything else, you know. And just talk about, is that something that you've made an effort on living a certain way or portraying certain things about yourself, you know, like, because everybody wants to influence the youth positively, right? But they still want to be cool, they still want to do this, and they still want to do that. But I think the biggest thing is you practicing what you preach.
Yeah.
Just talk a little bit about how important it is to be a positive role model, not only to them, but just really being that guy.
No, yeah. I mean, everything I do is in the spotlight, I feel like, for the most part. So, like, you know, you can do 500 things positive, and then one negative thing can just kill my whole image.
For sure.
So, you know, I teach my kids that stuff. Like, it doesn't have to be, you could tell me you didn't do it, but wrong place, wrong time, you're just as guilty as if you did do it.
For sure.
So I teach my kids that stuff, and, you know, I'll never do things in front of my kids that I wouldn't want them doing. As far as, like, you know, maybe talking crazy to the next person or smoking or portraying this image of a gangster or any of that stuff.
Right.
You know, that's cool to act like when you're around your peers as you get older or whatever, but when you have kids that look up to you and, you know, look at you like you're Superman or this, you know, person in power or somebody they look up to and they may want to be like as they get older, how would you want them to be? Exactly. If you were that random person on the street and you saw that kid, you want to just be a spinning image of you, or you want to be like, nah, I don't want you to be like me.
Exactly.
You know, you hear people say, like, I want you to be better than me. That's fine. But what is that better version of you? Were you just an absolute piece of shit, or were you a good version of you and you just want them to strive for more than that?
Exactly.
So, you know, I kind of look at things like that for the most part.
Was there any changes that you had to make within yourself to hold yourself accountable to be that role model for these kids, you know, as far as doing certain things outside of the gym or, you know, anything of that sort? Just talk about how you had to actually step up to the plate as a man to be a role model to these kids.
Yeah, man, I had to really change myself. Obviously, I'm like I said, I'm younger. Like, I enjoy partying and stuff like that, but I had to separate that stuff. When I go on terms and stuff, I had to start looking at it like it was a business trip. For me, like, I started looking at it like, if I'm investing all this money and I'm expecting a certain thing out of these kids, like, they have to expect a certain thing out of this coach. Yeah. Like, if I'm at tournaments and we got a game at 8 a.m. and I was out partying until 3, what type of role model am I? Right. And I'm telling them they got to be in bed by 10. Yeah. Like that, I'm being a hypocrite, and that's a front runner. Yeah. If everything's going well, then, you know, everything's all good, but then when shit goes bad, it's like I'm mad at them. Well, shit, they should be mad at me. Yeah. So, you know, I had to change a lot of that stuff. You know, put more focus into my craft. Coaching is a craft. So, you know, being prepared. Like, I would just show up to games. I don't know who teams are, what players can do what, none of that stuff. Yeah. I'm just showing up.
You know what your guys
can do. You know what I mean? I know I'm just hoping my guys show up to play. But now what if they don't show up to play? But if I have a remedy for, you know, kind of their X's and O's or what they do or who's their go-to guy, and I can kind of slow him down, and until our guys can get a flow going, we can still be in the game. Right. But, you know, I had to take more time and focus on that. But, yeah, man, I looked at myself in the mirror, I think it was 2 years ago, I want to say, on the coaching aspect, and like, man, I got to be better. I got to be better for these kids if I say I want this for these kids, and like, I have to change myself. Right. Can't just ask them to change, and I'm not looking myself in the mirror. Right. So, you know, I feel like it's always things that we can all improve on in everything in our everyday life. I'm not perfect. I'm not a perfect man. I'm not a perfect anything, but, you know, there's things I can get better at. And, you know, I try to strive myself for that every day, every week, try to become better.
Right. So outside of the AAU circuit, you're also a basketball trainer as a whole to any kid that wants to come and utilize, your knowledge and your teachings. You're a coach, you're a trainer. What is it about giving back or teaching that works for you? Like, what makes you want to do that? Just the giving back or trying to bring up the youth, because that's you have a giving quality, is what I'm trying to say. And what is it about, utilizing that part of yourself? What is it? What is it? Do you feel like that's something that you just didn't have when you were younger?
Yeah, I would say that plays a part in it. Anytime you can mentor the youth or get the youth off the streets, or you could be around them and be a gift to what they may be lacking or they may need. It's always a blessing. To me, if I can spend 45 minutes to an hour with a kid and get to know him and see how much he really likes the game, and just he can pick my brain, I can pick his, I can know his likes and dislikes. And you may have a kid that just began basketball and you see him in 6 months, and the couple of days you may spend with him, a month or whatever, a week, and you can see his growth. That's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
And seeing him build that relationship with you, and then you may know a kid when he's 14 and you became his trainer. Then when he's 18, you're getting an invitation to his graduation party.
Yeah.
It's like you became a significant piece in his life.
Yeah.
And that's somebody that you can mentor for the rest of his life and kind of guide him. You can't be a man for him. You can't walk in his shoes. You can't be a woman for him. You can't walk in her heels. But, you can kind of guide them, and you can be that ear that they may need. Or, that may be something they're lacking at home or in school or in their workplace. Like, you're just somebody to talk to. And in the gym and anything, it's not judging you. There's nobody in there to judge you.
Right.
It's just us. We're just having fun. We're just talking. We're just playing a game. It's all a game.
Yeah.
We're just having fun. So, I just get to mentor kids. So for me, I didn't really have that. Like, we couldn't afford for me to have a trainer when I was young. Yeah. But if I'd have had somebody that I could talk to, or just be around and pick their brain, like, that would have been cool for me. So I want to be that person.
It's just, I think basketball is so surface level. Like, all people see is the training, the highlights and things like that, and they don't understand that sports save lives.
Yeah.
And I think that's one thing that is just so brushed over, is that in the inner city, basketball, football, whatever sport it is, this is what's really keeping kids out of the streets. Like, it's keeping them out of trouble. And it's people like yourself that can connect with certain kids. It's what lacks. You know what I mean? And I got a lot of respect for you, man, because I love what you do. The brand loves what you do. Yeah. And it's beautiful to see what you're doing with these kids, just getting them to the next level, and hopefully getting them to the level above that.
Man, I hope so.
Yeah. Is there anybody that you want to give shouts out to before we wrap this up? Anybody that's helped you get to this point, or just any and everybody,
Yeah, I want to give a shout out to my father. Seen him make a lot of sacrifices for me at a young age, and me and my father didn't have the greatest relationship, and we kind of grew close when I got to college. So I want to shout out to him, man. He's a good man. He was stubborn, super stubborn. We bump heads a lot. We're so much alike. Shout out to him, man. I want to shout out to my middle school coach, Carl White. He held me super accountable. I used to do push-ups on a chair in his classroom at like 10 years old every day. I would get in trouble in school. Man, there's too many people. Shout out to Edmond Sumner. It's my brother, man. It's my best friend. Shout out to Remy Abel, my cousin. If it wasn't for him, I wouldn't have went to Xavier. And met some of the connections that I've met. My cousin Lionel Gaines. Man, I've always been able to pick his brain. He's always held me accountable. Was making some bad decisions. He was one of the guys who first picked me up. Shout out to all my siblings, my brothers, my sisters. Yeah, man, so shout out to Vital. Shout out to Vital, man. Vital guys doing their thing. Shout out to Make It Rain Hoops. Shout out to the whole Northern Kentucky, man. We about to put on. Shout out to 502, man. 502 come up. Y'all know what's going on.
Drew, I appreciate
Nah, I appreciate you having me.
you sitting down, man.
Nah,
Thank
thanks,
you.
man. I
This
appreciate
ain't gonna be the first time you be on here.
Nah, yeah.
I think there's a lot more left on the table to discuss, man, and we could really deep dive into other ventures that you got going on. But that's gonna be a wrap for tonight.
Yeah.
This is Jalen with Vital Collective. We're gonna close it out. Thank you.
Appreciate y'all.
Talk.
Yeah,
Smooth.
that jam was lit.
Shit was lit, man.
But that's really Vital Collective, man. That's what the fuck we do, man. You hear me? Shout out to 502, man. Louisville, Southside and Outside, 2100 block, 5500 Riata Diata. Shout out to my man Brett, man. Y'all know what's going on. Strongest white man I ever met, man.
Oh, here we go.
Yeah.